Good evening once again, book lovers of the internet. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I am booknerd0802, and in this video I am going to be reviewing a movie which I watched about a week ago with my girlfriend, and the movie is Scream 7. It is, of course, a movie which forms part of the horror genre, and she really likes horror, so I thought it would be a good idea to go and watch it with her. And honestly, it turned out that she was the best part of the whole movie because the movie itself was rather horrible. From my end, I rated it a 2.5, 2.5 stars out of 5 stars on Letterboxd. It was about 2 hours long, I think, something along those lines, maybe 2 hours long, but it felt as though it was way longer, and it has an average rating of 2.3 stars on Letterboxd, and yeah, I can completely understand why. This was my introduction to the world of Scream and Ghostface, and I watched it with my girl, who is a massive fan since she's been watching these movies since she was a kid, since the very first ones were being released, and it's a shame that we didn't manage to find her a Scream cup, which the theater was selling since they were sold out by the time we got to the counter. They didn't even have a poster set up for this movie, which was quite a shame since I wanted to take a picture, since it was my first interaction with the Scream franchise, and she also went through the trouble of getting the tickets printed, even though she didn't have to, since online the tickets would have worked just fine with the QR code. And I enjoy the way this movie started. I got a good impression towards the very few minutes which introduced me to the movie, and it was rather thought provoking considering the element of a story within a story, and the action scenes throughout were consistently lovely, and the jump scares certainly got to me. And yeah, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you would know that I love when you have a story within a story. That concept really always gets to me and makes me happy to watch or read something and immerse myself into a world. And I especially liked when that kid was turned into a beer fountain, since I found that to be a very original way of killing off a character. And yeah, I mean, I've been watching movies where characters die horrible, brutal deaths. I watched Game of Thrones, Dexter, Welcome to Derry, so many other TV shows where characters die brutally, and yeah, I found that to be quite original. Now to move on to the reasons as to why this movie perhaps was horrible in my opinion. In terms of plot, I found it to be ridiculous and it didn't make much sense in terms of motive, to the point where we hardly got a chance to figure out the value of the characters, and people were just senselessly dying left, right, and center just to increase the shock factor, the shock value of the story. There didn't seem to be any reason for the conflict, just a lot of shock factor and people being on edge all the time. I suppose as a member of the audience, I did feel that way, but some of the deaths they just came across as hilarious to me. And I must admit that I found the writing for this movie to be awful, and having 7 movies in a horror franchise is beyond ridiculous. It's completely unrealistic, especially when there isn't anything supernatural going on. It's just a mass murderer who um, lives on through a mosque, basically. So there is plenty of reason for it to be realistic, but it's not that challenging to change your identity and the way you look, rather than just continuing to swap your address with another once in a while, much like the main character in the story does. And it honestly was annoying that she wouldn't be reasonable in that way and put her whole family in danger. I think that Sydney, I think her name is, if I am not mistaken. I must have written it down somewhere here. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think her name is Sydney. Sounds like a guy's name rather than a woman's name anyway. Sid for short. Yeah, Sydney. Yeah, I feel as though she should have been more reasonable when she knew that she would be attacked eventually. Um, but anyway, um, this made even less sense to me because the victim is a celebrity and pretty much known by everyone. So if she really cared about her family, which she gives us the impression that she does, she loves her husband and her daughter. Um, but yeah, the reasonable thing to do would have been to alter her appearance and take more drastic measures so that nobody would die. This could have all been avoided quite easily. You could have faked your death as well, that sort of thing. I do look forward to seeing the first few movies at least, but this felt lazy and AI generated to the extent whereby some scenes were just there for the shock factor and did not add any value to the plot at all, kind of like with Home Alone, for instance. You have the first two movies, which are bordering on perfection, and then you have the rest of the movies, which are absolute rubbish. There's no in between, and not much in terms of plot twists either. And when Monica showed up from Friends, Courtney Cox, I couldn't stop laughing. And the scene where Sydney told her daughter that she is in fact her daughter made me cringe hard because her daughter became a killer as well, and that was meant to wrap up the whole movie, which was very cheesy and dramatic for no reason, and it just made me throw up in my mouth. Um, and while it's true that I haven't watched the rest of the movies in this franchise, I can tell that they are only making new movies to milk the cash cow, and it's about time that this series gets some rest, I think. Just let it be, come up with an original idea rather than milking the same ideas for decades on end. And I am not much of a horror fan to begin with, but this was quite a disappointment apart from when McKenna Grace got her guts split open with a knife, I think. She was split open like a fish, basically, because she had to leave to be in another movie. In real life, probably. And the whole concept of Ghostface is a pretty cool one, but the face reveal unmasking, in this one especially, I do not know about the rest of the movies. It was very underwhelming and boring, if I have to be a bit harsher, to say the least, as it came across as though we just had some random people chasing innocent characters just for the sake of it, and murdering them in cold blood just to keep us on our toes and entertained. But in terms of plot, there was no substance at all, and it kind of fell flat, in my opinion. Um, as many of the characters did. But that is all I had to say with regard to the movie Scream 7. Um, I think the last horror movie I watched was Weapons 2, maybe. I'm not quite sure if I watched anything else in between. I'm sure I have a review on my channel somewhere. Find the links in my description down below. And if you enjoyed this review, make sure to leave a like, comment, share, subscribe. Take a look at the rest of my content because why not? It's absolutely amazing. And I will see you in the next one, hopefully very, very soon. Thank you all for watching, and bye, guys.